Good morning. Glad you're here. Listen, I want to read part of a verse from Second Chronicles 16, and then I'm just going to tell a quick summary of the entire chapter, and then I want to read the rest of the verse, basically. But you've probably heard this verse, Second Chronicles 16, verse 9, and it says this: For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro through the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him. Now, this is a message that was being delivered to the king at the time of Judah, and his name was Asa, and he was a good guy for the most part. Well, he was up until this point anyways. Somebody that God used, somebody that was really, it appeared he was really serving God. Okay. It had that look of a man. And, somebody that God actually sent prophets to tell him that, as long as he's serving God and walking with God, God was going to bless him, right? So anyways, we get to this point where the king of Israel, Baasha, he is setting up a stronghold against Judah, and Asa sends a bunch of gold to one of his allies and gets him to basically turn on Baasha. So this is this is a tactical move. And honestly, I just want to say this. It was really actually brilliant. It was a brilliant move. If we're just talking in, the scheme of things, take God out of the picture, it was a good move, right? Sends some wealth over to this guy to get him to turn on Baasha. And then when Baasha goes and takes his army to, defend itself, then they moved in and they tore down this fortified city that Baasha was building. Genius move. There's just a few problems. One is that a lot of the gold that Asa took, actually he took out of the temple. He took gold. And another one is he actually didn't go to the Lord. He didn't ask God if he should do this or not. It's a plan he came up with. And he did it on his own. Okay? And so when we read these words, for the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him, these words are actually part of a rebuke. It's not, when I read these, I think, man, if God spoke that to me, this would be powerful. Well, at the very beginning of this rebuke, the words are, because you have relied on the king of Syria and have not relied on the Lord your God, therefore, and that's how this began. And these words here, they are powerful. They are something that we should think about. But this is actually a rebuke. This is God saying, look, I'm looking for people. I'm looking for people that I could show myself strong on behalf and that are loyal to me. And you know what? Since God is saying that to him, the implication is that he wasn't there. Now, the main reason I can say that is because this is the other part of the verse. It says, in this you have done foolishly. Therefore, from now on, you shall have wars. Okay. So this makes me think, right? I'm just going to jump into a completely different story. You remember when Jesus goes up on the mountain and he takes, Peter, James, and John up there, and he becomes shining, like the sun and all of the stuff. And Moses and Elijah appear there and they're talking. and Peter has to speak up, and he says, hey, we should build 3 tabernacles here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. And then God speaks and he says, this is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Okay, the reason I'm bringing that up is because that story has always struck me as a bit of insanity to think that God actually would be instructing us to pay attention to his son. We should be tuned in, right? I mean, we're talking about God. We're talking about God's son. This is not, I mean, we're talking about the giver of salvation here. I'm just saying, when God speaks to you, listen, right? You need to listen. And the words spoken here are the same thing. He says, you've done this foolishly. Therefore, you shall have wars. Well, listen, God's speaking to you. That's an honor. It's a privilege. This is not a small thing. This is the creator of the universe going out of his way to communicate directly with you. That's humbling. That should be something that really strikes deep in your heart. But it didn't with Asa. Listen to this, verse 10. Then Asa was angry with the seer and put him in prison, for he was enraged at him because of this. And Asa oppressed some of the people at that time. He gets angry. You know what that tells me? What that tells me is this is a man that was given to his pride, and he could not even accept a rebuke from God through the prophet. He gets angry and he throws it says he got angry with the seer. That's the prophet at the time. That's what they called the prophets, were seers. And he puts him in prison. This is the actions of a child, okay? I mean, that's just the honest truth, right? This is somebody that is full of himself and he can do whatever he wants because he's king, right? But this is really a man's pride keeping him from hearing what God's telling him. He didn't humble himself. You would think if God delivers a message to you directly through a prophet, you would think that would be humbling enough, much less the fact that it's a rebuke. And listen, we all have trouble with this. When we get a rebuke, we all have trouble when God rebukes us. It's always difficult because our pride is the thing that keeps us from really receiving the rebuke, right? But we have to understand that this is an important thing. We don't brush it off. Crazy cat. We don't brush off the rebuke. We don't ignore it. We receive it. We learn. We grow from it, right? But Asa didn't do that. He serves to us as a counterexample. This is, honestly, when you look at this situation, you have a couple options. It's to humble yourself in the sight of God, receive what he has to say to you. Or the other option is to harden your heart, to stiffen your neck, and to just in your pride tell yourself that you don't deserve this, or you should be treated better, or whatever, right? But we see this as the counterexample here from Asa. This is just the wrong way to do it. So I think reading this, I was reminded of how important it is that our heart is ready to receive from the Lord when he's speaking. When we go to his word, primarily, that we're in the place to actually receive, that we're not already hardened, and that we are regularly in the place to hear from the Lord, to receive instruction, to receive correction, and to be in that place where God literally will show himself strong on our behalf because we're living our lives completely for him. So anyways, that's what I wanted to encourage you about today. I hope that you have a great day. And of course, it's Friday. So that means at 11 Pacific time, we're doing the roundup. Make sure you join that. And I will see you again next week at, I'm sure you guys know Christmas is just a few days away. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. May God richly bless you.